This is an upper body strength session that is designed for your premenstrual and menstrual phases. This is that transition from high to low hormones that happens in the last few days of each cycle as you transition to the first few days of the next. That's this bridge time from one cycle to the next. Being a transition phase, it is wildly variable and largely dependent on how you were showing up during your luteal phase, anything that happened in your life, and your workouts and your nutrition. So it's kind of a reflection of what's been going on, which means that it will change from woman to woman, from month to month. So I love leaning into transition phases as that wild card state where you can really tune into your body and show up in the way that you need to. And today's practice will let you do that. It's designed to be practiced at about 50% of your maximum exertion, so you may not even break a sweat. It was one where I definitely felt a little bit of heat, but not quite enough intensity to generate that sweaty vibe, which is a-okay during the menstrual phase when we're already being taxed energetically by the process of menstruation. It's something that's facilitated by our body's natural healing process of inflammation. So we're in that pro-inflammatory state. We don't want to compete with those existing conditions. We want to instead mirror the wisdom of our body and tone down the intensity of exercise. We do that in today's practice by working with very light weights. I would err on the side of going too light if you can. So you're something between 3 to as high as 8 pounds. I started with 8 pounds in this practice and had to drop down. So again, you're looking for kind of that sweet spot where you feel just enough to get feedback from the body, but not so much that it becomes overly taxing. We have 3 sets of work, each with 3 exercises. And in the weighted portion, we're performing those intervals back to back so that it's more of a dumbbell complex where you can move from one exercise to the next without having to change position or weight. We start in a supine position, and then we move to standing exercises, which you can also take from a chair or a bench in a seated position, especially if you're on the low energy side. We're focusing on the upper body, so if standing creates too much of an energy draw for the legs, please feel free to take a seat. So we've got 40-second intervals working back to back. At the end of each set of work, we will have 20 seconds to recover. We'll complete 3 sets of each grouping of exercises. Then you have a totally optional core finisher at the end. This one, I want you to take it nice and slow and only take it if it feels appropriate for you. So I don't want you to push beyond the 30-minute mark. If you aren't feeling it for today, you can always eliminate that finisher and stay right around 30 minutes with your 5-minute warm-up and your 5-minute cool down. So the weighted portion of the workout comes right around 22 minutes. Again, we're hovering around the 30-minute mark for the complete practice. If any of these movements are new to you, or maybe you're wanting to work without the video, you're wanting to work to a prescribed rep scheme as opposed to the intervals, you'll find a movement tutorial linked in a separate video in the description below. That one will give you an overview of all the exercises, of the workout structure, so that you can move in the way that suits you best. So it's a great way to get a quick preview of all of the movement patterns, especially if you're taking this one to a gym, or again, you just want to practice without the video. So now that you have the lay of the land, you know what we're doing for today, it's time to get started. Let's warm up together, shall we? Find a comfortable space to move around. Take a big deep breath in and a slow breath out. We're warming up the upper body today. Let's begin with some big arm circles. Reach the arms up. And as you exhale, come down. Inhale, come up, and then take it around and down forward. So we're working through internal and external rotation of the shoulder. You can make this a little bit quicker here. Hug the elbows to the sides and then press the arms back. Big circles, nice and wide. Just waking up the shoulders here, adding a little bit of warmth. We'll be in each of these stretches for about 30 seconds, just 5 minutes total to get you ready for your strength training. Next up, we'll reach the arms overhead, side bend to one side. You can take that top hand, bring it behind the head, press your head into your hand. I want you to lift up and out of the pelvis so you're not crunching into that side. Both sides are long. Let's come to the other side. Reach up and out. You can take your bottom hand, press the hips in the opposite direction to help encourage that lifting up and out. Then we'll slowly make our way to the back of the mat. Walkout push-ups are next. Reach up. As you exhale, bend your knees deeply. Walk the hands out to plank. You can take the knees down for the first few rounds if you wish, and walk the hands back. Let's reach it all the way up. Walk out to plank, your push-up. Waking up the chest here. And reach up. Let's get one more in the next 10 seconds. And walk it all the way back. Next up, we are coming to our side plank with arm circles. So you come into your downward facing dog first, then we'll roll to one side, open that arm, circle around, and come back through center, switch sides. So no need to stack the feet here, just keep them as they are, turning to the inner and outer edges of both feet. Take those big wide circles. I want you to feel almost like a wave coming in and rolling out. We're here, just one more breath. And then we'll come back into our downward facing dog. Big breath here. And then with your next inhale, touch the knees down, cow pose. Stretch the spine all the way, gaze up. From your sitting bones, send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. We'll be in that rhythm here. Inhale, touch the knees down, gaze up, stretch the spine. Exhale, send it back. You can even shake the head, yes and no here. Last one like this. And then we'll slowly come down. Here I want you to alternate sides. So reach one arm out to the side, turn to the opposite direction, stretch the chest and the shoulder, and then switch. So these nice deep shoulder rolls, almost like key of the shoulder opener, or a bit of that scorpion sensation in the shoulders and chest. So you're just sliding the arms one side and then the other. And then we'll switch that next and slide it forward. So we take one arm forward, stretch the under the armpits. Again, more of that shoulder awakening. Just sliding forward and back. Really starting to connect to your breath. Draw the low belly in. So we have that nice core integration from the very beginning. And be here just a few more breaths. And then we'll release the thoracic spine. So as you inhale, come up, bring your right hand behind your head. Open that elbow nice and wide, and then exhale, wrap it under. So as you inhale, come up, keep the hips nice and square. So try not to let your hips come along for the ride. They are stable and stationary. We're just letting that upper back rotate, open and close. We'll be here one more breath. And then we'll just exchange sides. So right hand comes down, left hand behind the head. This time opening nice and wide and then wrapping it under. Again, inhale, press that elbow up and exhale, wrap below. So again, your hips stay nice and even. Just really trying to articulate the independent motion of your rib cage. We have a lot of mobility, a lot of range in the upper back that's often underutilized. Last one. This time I want you to come into your plank position. So we hug heels of the hands at ball mounds of the feet together and simply tap opposite shoulders. Pressing all 10 finger pads firmly into the floor to alleviate any strain on the wrists. And see if you can do this without moving the hips at all. It's easy to kind of sway back and forth, but can you resist that rotation in the hips to engage the core? Last one. Nice and easy. Walk back through downward dog. Take your feet to your hands, hands to your feet. And then we'll roll up slow and steady, bone by bone, all the way to standing. Big shoulder rolls here. Huge breath in. And a slow breath out. That is your warm-up, and you are ready to get into your strength training next. Let's jump into your upper body strength session for the menstrual phase. Being that we're in this transition time in the cycle, you want to have some light weights. This is anywhere from 3 to about 8 pounds. You don't want to go too heavy because this is more of a deload. So we're looking to just stay around 50% of your maximum effort, nothing too strenuous for today. So have your weights ready to go. Our first set of work is going to be lying down on your back. We have 40-second working intervals that we'll do back to back for 3 exercises before resting for 20 seconds. So I will get our timer started. We have about 20 seconds on the clock to come down into that supine position. Grab your weights as you move. Our first movement pattern is a chest fly. So I want you to curl the tail slightly under, keep your feet on the mat. Press your shoulder blades down into the floor. And we'll get ready to move in 3, 2, 1. I want you to take the weight out nice and slow. Keep the elbows slightly bent and then squeeze to the center. I want you to feel the hugging of the hip bones and the low ribs together so you have integration in the low belly. And we want to develop time under tension with this lighter weight. So how can you really engage the chest here by slowing down that loading phase and then squeezing it up? So the weight is right over the center of the chest, right around the nipple line. And we are creating that stretch as we open and then contraction as we close. Right after this, in about 3 seconds, we'll move into our skull crusher. So hands will be straight out. You're going to bend at the elbows, bring the weights by either ear. So you're bringing it right to the sides of the face here. I want you to keep the upper arm bone static. So freeze the position of that structure in space and then just move the lower arm. As best as you can here, keep the wrists neutral. So try to kind of avoid any bending or twisting at the wrists. Really want to focus this on the triceps. Squeeze the backs of the arms as you come up. Keep toning the belly. We're here for 3. Go into pullover next. And come up, squeeze the weight together, reach with straight arms overhead, and then pull that weight back to center. I want you to keep the shoulders away from the ears. Feel the stretch in the backs of the shoulder blades as you lengthen the arms overhead and then contract. As you come overhead, I want you to resist the sensation of the hip bones and low ribs pulling apart. So create some activation there to resist that separation. Heads of the arm bones stay plugged into the shoulders so that you have that full range of motion in the shoulder. Got a few more seconds here. And rest just for 20 seconds, and then we'll come right back in. We'll do that 2 more times. So those continuous 40-second intervals back to back, and then a 20-second rest period. So our chest fly is first. So bring that weight into position. Let's go now. Open it up and squeeze it together. So again, in the menstrual phase, we're using this opportunity with lighter weights to really explore the nuance of each movement pattern. So notice how the loading changes as you open up and squeeze together. Notice where you feel this work, what muscle groups are coming online. How can you integrate a little bit more deeply by slowing it down? That is the gift of menstrual phase strength work. It's lower intensity, lighter weight, so we have more opportunity for that deep focus and attention. Next up, skull crusher. Bring the weights together. Again, fix the upper arm bone in space and just bend at the elbows. So we find that flexion in the elbow and then squeeze, extend the elbow. So the tricep lengthens and shortens here. We need to keep the arms in parallel tracks, shoulders relaxed away from the ears. What can you notice about this movement pattern? We have less hormone interference during the menstrual phase, so the days leading up to and during your period. So there's more connection between left and right brain. Feel that here, connecting mind and body. Pullovers next. Reach the arms overhead and then pull it back. I want you to feel the lengthening in the back and then that shortening as you contract. Keep the lower back neutral so you have that Just a slight curl toward the inner heels here of the sitting bones, but mostly that nice, straight, strong spinal alignment that then allows you to isolate muscles in the upper body. Last one. And rest. You can bring the weight down by your sides for a moment. Take a pause here to connect to your breath in through the nose and out through the nose. Breathing should be pretty slow and steady at this 50% exertion level. Chest fly is next. Let's open it out and squeeze together. Open and squeeze. This is a time where the steep decline in hormones kind of signals the onset of the period, and it moves you into more of a pro-inflammatory state to facilitate menstruation. It's an energetically taxing process. So rather than kind of contribute to that inflammation with intense exercise, we're toning it way down so that we can let the body do what it needs to do during this time. Skull crusher's next. So she's doing important work. It takes a lot of energy to release the lining of the uterus, and we don't want to compete with that innate reproductive priority. Instead, we change the way we train to mirror that wisdom in the body. Squeeze the backs of the triceps as you come up. After this last exercise, we'll have a slightly longer recovery period so that we can transition to the next set of work. Pull over, let's finish it out. Draw your shoulder blades down the back, reach and pull. Find that nice deep stretch in the lats and then pull. So as you take the arms overhead, the lower back may want to arch. And I want you not to stamp the lower back into the floor, but just feel kind of that counterbalance, like you have hip bones and low ribs really kind of magnetizing toward each other to let your arms move overhead safely without compromising the lower back. Last one. Excellent job. Set those weights down. Make your way to a seat, nice and easy. So especially during the menstrual phase, we want to take our time as we transition from the back to seated and then standing. So slowly come into your standing position. You might pause in the hip hinge and then slowly come up. We've got about 30 seconds to set up for our next set of exercises. This one will be done standing, but you can always sit down on a chair, especially if you're in a state of lower energy. You want to kind of take the leg work out of it. You can come into a seat or a kneeling position. Our first movement pattern is just a straight biceps curl. So we're going to turn the palms out, tone the low belly, feet are shoulder width apart, shoulders are relaxed. Here we go, and begin. Squeeze it up and all the way down. I want you to hug the elbows into your sides. So again, we're fixing the position of the upper arm, just letting the lower arm move. At the top, find your mind-muscle connection. Really squeeze the dumbbells toward the shoulders. I want you to feel that shortening of the biceps at the top. So they lengthen, stretch, and then contract. After this, we're coming into a reverse shoulder press in about 10 seconds. So we'll move straight from that curl position. We'll keep the grip as it is, so palms facing in, and we'll press the weight overhead. Here we go. Take it up and back down. It's okay if your wrists have a slight turn at the top to get that full extension in the elbow. What I want you to focus on is not shrugging the shoulders and not arching the lower back. Press overhead. So slightly different grip. We'll target just a different loading pattern here in the shoulders, the back. This might be a new way of loading this exercise for you, so it might feel a little bit awkward at first. Just feel into the range of motion here. I want you to come halfway down to that 90-degree angle and just alternate. Extend one arm and then the other. So you've got the elbows at shoulder height the entire way through. We're just extending and coming back to center. So coming back to that 90-degree bend. Should feel the shoulder blades, that space in the upper back really working here. And you have to tone the belly to maintain that position. So we're drawing the low belly in. Breathe here. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shake it out. You can set the weights down if you like. That is our first of 3 sets. We've got about 20 seconds here. Then we'll come right back to that biceps curl. We'll move through all 3 consecutive exercises once again. Grab your weight. Find that strong starting position, either standing or seated, palms turned out. Let's begin. Squeeze into your biceps curl. I want you to move slowly through this practice. I want it to feel stabilizing for your central nervous system so that we're not contributing to stress with exercise, but we're using it to breathe, to kind of promote circulation, to increase the availability of endorphins for soothing any symptoms that you're experiencing around your period. We use the movement as medicine. So that means you've got a calm mind, a calm body, and your breath is a reflection of that. Last one. Now reverse press, take it up and back down. If the weight gets to be too much, you can always alternate sides. So move one arm at a time. Notice what that does to the range of motion. Maybe you can get a little bit straighter with the arms here. Just like we did in our pullover, I want you to really focus on lifting the hip points up toward the low ribs. We've got this. 15 more seconds here. And then we come into that alternating elevated curl. These are open chain exercises, which means our hands are free to move. And what that does is it isolates muscle groups. Here we go. So we're isolating the shoulders, the biceps, a little bit of chest here. And breathe. This is round 2 of 3. As best as you can, try to keep those elbows elevated to shoulder height. If you need to drop down in weight, that is always an option. Keeping the low belly engaged here. Tune into your breath. Last 3, 2, and 1. Shake it out. You've got a 20-second recovery interval, and then we'll come in for our 3rd set of work. So you can roll out the shoulders here. Again, we don't need super long recovery periods. We're moving pretty continuously because the intensity is so low. Last one. And biceps curl. Squeeze it up and extend all the way. How can you slow this down even more? Just like in our chest fly, can you slow the loading phase so that you have more time under tension? So you can build that sensation in the biceps even when the weight is light, so that we're not swinging that weight around. There's still some resistance. We have just enough to feel the feedback from your biceps. We've got just about 5 more seconds here. And then we come into our reverse press. Here we go. Curl it up, press it overhead, and back down. You might notice I have a tendency to travel during upper body movements, especially in the standing position, which is okay as long as you're not compromising your form. So if you need that little bit of dynamic movement by shifting around, that is just fine. Otherwise, you might be seated in a chair. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming into that curl, I'm just going to take a quick posture break and then come back in. Extend, back to center, reach, and curl. So we're creating a little bit of pause here. I'm going to shake out the shoulders. My next option for weight goes down about 5 pounds. So I have a set of 8 pounds and then a set of 3 pounds, when really for this exercise, I probably need a 5-pound set of dumbbells. Should probably invest in those for menstrual phase practice here. Stay with it wherever you are and rest, shake it out. So rather than pushing through that discomfort, that fatigue, you want to take a break, roll out the shoulders, and then come back in. So the menstrual phase is not necessarily that opportunity for digging deeper and pushing past those signals from the body. Instead, I want you to really listen to them, honor them, and let your body trust you by responding with either a drop in weight, a posture break, whatever you need. Next up, we're coming into a lat pull down. So you can grab your weights. We'll move in about 15 seconds. This one, we're starting in that Y position overhead and just pulling the elbows back behind. I want you to avoid arching the back. Keep it nice and neutral. Let's come into that Y raise here and lat pull down. Here we go. Squeeze the elbows behind you and then reach it up. Pull nice and slow. So I want you to, again, feel that activation by slowing the lowering phase and then press it up. Reach behind you. Take it up and overhead. We've got about 15 more seconds in this exercise. So even 8 pounds, when you slow it down, can do the trick. We've got 3, 2, and 1. I want you to bring the weights to a 90-degree bend. We're going to open, extend, come back to center, and close. So we open just to shoulder height, reach the arms straight, and close. I'm going to take single-sided here, and then probably drop the weight for the next set. Out, extend, back to center, and down. Toning the shoulders here and a little bit of the triceps as you come through that extension. Reach it out. Extend. Last 3, 2, and 1. Next up is your front press. So you're reaching out. We're in that upright position and just extending the arms. Slightly different loading pattern for the shoulders. I want you to keep the spine straight and strong and the arms stay at shoulder elevation the entire way through. This is a different way to target the chest and biceps. We've got 10 more seconds here. Straighten and return to center. Find your breath. Last 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to set that weight down. You've got 20 seconds to recover. I'm going to switch to my light set of weights to keep this practice period friendly, menstrual phase friendly, and to keep that intensity where I want it, around 50%. So we're coming into that Y raise next. Pull the elbows by your sides, reach behind. So again, maybe a little bit light for me on this one, but I would rather that. I'd rather go a little bit lighter and have a smoother menstrual experience than push too hard and contribute to things like inflammation, fatigue, maybe even muscle soreness. So there's definitely an opportunity to tune into the signals from your body. Start paying attention. And once you create awareness around those signals, then the key is to respond with support, with compassion, with patience. Coming into your shoulder raise next, reaching up, extend it out, and back to center. Squeeze out, straighten, and back. I want you to create each part of the movement as its own kind of rep. So we lift it up, we extend back to center and close. Your biceps are working the whole time. They're engaged from start to finish. There's a time in my relationship with exercise where dropping the weights wouldn't have been an option, that it would have felt like failure or like I was creating an excuse, alternating front press here. But now I understand the communication that the body is sending. And I understand that that cyclical intelligence changes. So what might be a signal of challenge, an invitation to dig deeper in, say, the follicular phase, in the menstrual phase, that is signaling that you need to back off a little bit. So we kind of adjust that receiver that we have from, in the way that we receive those signals. It changes from one cycle phase to the next. And rest, shake it out. So we have one more set of these. That is your main portion of the workout. Then you'll have an optional finisher to close it out. But for now, we'll focus on this next best set. Let's move in 3, 2, 1. So you've got that Y position, squeezing the elbows behind. Reach it up and squeeze. This work right here, this lightweight, high rep endurance work is great for your posture, for literally changing the way you carry yourself, the way you hold your body in space. This work is important, this low intensity work. It doesn't have to be all out every time, especially during these transition phases, which can be a little turbulent, can be a little bit tricky to navigate. So we want exercise to be part of the solution. We come up, extend, back to center. Even 3 pounds. I am feeling the shoulders. But it's that local intensity. You're not feeling that whole body energy demand. It's very sustainable. You can keep your slow, steady breath and just work through the sensation in the localized muscle groups. We're here for 10 more seconds. Reach it up, out, and to center. Up, extend, come back down. That alternating front press is next. So we come into that lifted position, press it forward and back. Try not to twist the torso. So keep it nice and straight and strong so that the rest of the body is unmoving. It's stable. It's creating the anchor point for the movement in the arms. Press from the shoulder, reach out, extend the arms and back in. Take these last 5 seconds or so to connect to your breath. And rest. You can set your weight down. Our finisher is just 2 exercises. And with these, we're doing 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest. So we're not going back to back. We have a slow mountain climber and a prone swimmer. So if you hear mountain climber and it feels like the last possible exercise that you would want to do on your period, I want you to think of these as menstrual mountain climbers. How can you move in a way that supports your physiology and how you feel at this time? So we have about 30 more seconds before our first 40-second interval. So a couple of options. You can be in a half plank and just hug one knee and then the other. You can be in full plank and moving super slowly. I want you to take whatever variation of mountain climbers feels appropriate for you right now. You might even just hold plank. I want you to just feel some core activation, send some blood flow to the abdomen and your vital organs. Here we go. Coming in for super slow mountain climbers. Can you make each pull of the knee in take a count of 3 and then step it back? I want you to really focus on shortening the gap between hip points and low ribs. Keep your shoulders relaxed, keep your chest stretching forward, nice and slow. We got this. Again, connect to your breath. How can your breath facilitate that sense of calm, of ease within the challenge? And come down to the belly, lower all the way. We're going to reach the arms overhead and then pull the elbows behind for that swimmer. We'll move in just a few seconds here. Reach the arms overhead. I want you to keep the legs and hip bones grounded. Let's get ready in 3, 2, 1, lift it up, pull and extend. Reach the arms, squeeze the elbows, and take it overhead. Again, I want the hip bones and legs to stay anchored to the floor so that you're targeting the posterior chain, so the rivers of the spine, and that support the rest of the body. Squeeze the elbows nice and close behind you. Bring them down low. Reach and come back for 3, 2, and 1. Back to your mountain climber. So again, we have that 20-second transition just to kind of maintain that kind of balanced state so that we're not becoming overly activated, but staying in the sweet spot. We've got 3, 2, and 1. Pull the knee in slow and step it back. Nice and easy. Forward and back. Make sure the back of the neck stays neutral. Keep the finger pads pressing down into the floor to alleviate any tension on the wrists. You can always take this with the forearms down if you wish. So again, how can you create more support in this movement pattern? By conscious awareness with your focus and attention. Last 3, 2, and 1. Slowly come down. We'll be lowering to the belly for our second round of the swimmer. Just one final round after that, and you'll be on your way to cooling down. About 10 more seconds here. Lower onto the belly, reach your arms overhead. We'll move in 2, 1. Here we go. Lift it up. Squeeze the elbows and reach. Keep the legs heavy. Press through the tops of the feet. Spread the toes. Anchor the hip bones. Make sure the neck is nice and long. Shoulders are down away from the ears. This is important work for the spine and for the core. So you're creating strength in the lower back, strength along the rivers of the spine, and tone in the belly. Last one here. And press it up. We have one more round of those 2 exercises. So about 15 seconds to kind of shake it out. Get ready for your last round of mountain climbers. Let's move in 3, 2, and 1. Pull it in and step it back. How can you create total body awareness so that this becomes a full body exercise? We are localizing the effort in the belly, but your arms are working. Your spine is activated. Legs are strong. You're recruiting the entire body to participate. Can you take out any rounding of the spine and keep that structure stable? And just move the legs, one and then the other. Rest. Come down. Final round of swimmers is next. So you've got about 15 seconds before we'll lower to the belly and complete this last set of work. Let's come into position. Reach the arms overhead and begin. Lift the chest and come back. I want you to think of kind of lifting up and out as opposed to just crunching into the lower back. So think about lengthening the chest up and out so that you're keeping the structure of the spine nice and long, giving it plenty of space and not compressing the musculature in the lower back. Tops of the thighs stay grounded, knees are anchored to the floor, tops of the feet pressing down. We're here for 3, 2, and 1. Slowly, mindfully press up onto hands and knees. Maybe give a little sway of the hips. And then you can step the feet to hands. You might bring your elbows to your knees, come into your hinge position first, and then we'll slowly, bone by bone, roll all the way up to stand. Give your shoulders a little bit of a roll here. Let's take a huge breath in and a slow breath out. That is your upper body work for today. Hopefully it felt slow and steady. You might have not even really broken a sweat, and that's okay. I want us to start to appreciate the value of this work in this transition time in the cycle. It's so important. You are serving your body, you are serving your mind through this practice. So thank you for tuning in to the workout. Now you can head into your cool down. You just completed your upper body strength session, so now let's cool down. First, I want you to take your hands behind you, interlace the fingers, stretch the arms straight and strong, hug the elbows in, draw your knuckles toward your inner heels, and bring the front ribs in. Then I want you to send the gaze up, tilt the chin, and then reverse it, bring the chin down, tuck it in, round the spine. So we're isolating this movement in the neck. I want you to keep the chest open and the spine nice and tall throughout. Just kind of releasing any tension in the neck. You can even kind of make this more of a circle, side to side. And then we're going to slowly release the hands, bend the knees, come into a tabletop position. Walk your hands out, bring the elbows to the floor, palms touch, and then slide heart, belly, chest between the arms for puppy pose with dolphin arms. So really press the hands firmly together and soften heart, belly, chest toward the thighs. Lift the hip creases up and back. And breathe here. Start to turn your awareness inward. Maybe close the eyes. Then we'll slowly come up into a kneeling position. Bring your hands behind your head, elbows nice and wide. Open the chest. And then as you exhale, bring the elbows in. Aim your elbows toward your knees. Round, curl in. Inhale, open. Think of this like cat and cow in the spine, supporting the head and neck, and then rounding it in. Inhale, lift up, stretch up, open up. And last one. From here, nice and smooth transition, I want you to roll onto your right side. Take your left knee over top, extend your right leg long, bring the hands together in front of you, and then open the left arm up. As best as you can, keep the knee and the shoulders grounded. Really feel this spinal twist here. Let your left knee be heavy. And breathe deeply. So see if you can breathe into the resistance that occurs with the twist. And then we'll slowly exchange. So we'll turn to the left side next. Extend your left leg long, right knee over top. Bring the palms to touch. And then open the right arm kind of out, around to the side. So you feel that full kind of awakening in the chest, the shoulders, while enjoying that deep spinal rotation. And breathe here, nice and easy. See if you can inflate the belly. Last one. And then slowly turn onto the back. I want you to come up onto a seat. Bring your hands together behind you. Turn the fingertips out to the sides. Upward tabletop here. So we lift it up. Press down through the heels of the hands. Stretch across the chest. And if you like, you can take the head back. So really feel kind of that stretch across the throat. The chest, you might rock gently side to side, stretch the forearms, the inner arms, the biceps. Nice and easy, touch the hips down, keep a generous bend in the knees. I want you to cross at the wrists, reach for the outer edges of both feet. And I want you to round into the upper back. So feel this broadening between the shoulder blades. Press your feet into your hands to get some traction here. And then we'll slowly lift up to a seat, come into cross-legged position. I want you to take your right hand behind. I'll be opposite you in movement. Left arm reaches overhead. I want you to encourage your left ear to left shoulder. So with your left hand, think of lifting the, the head up and out of the neck. So you feel that deep neck stretch. Maybe shake the head yes and no. This is a question I get asked a lot for upper body days, is how to kind of release any tension in the neck and shoulders. So one of my favorite stretches for that purpose. Come back through center. You can reach both arms up, this time left arm behind. Use your right hand, take it to your left ear, encourage right ear to right shoulder. Move the chin forward and back. Feel that deep stretch. Just explore where you need it most. As you're ready, let the hands come down to the knees. Just a deep heart opener here. So pull back on the knees, lift the heart through the upper arms, draw your elbows down and back. Maybe send the gaze up, head back, really expanding all the way up through the spine. And then a gentle rounding in. So coil through the spine, chin to chest. And then back to neutral. Come up, lift up and out. Maybe give a little bit of a shimmy and a shake. And then nice and easy, we'll transition back to standing. So come onto the ball mounds of your feet, roll up bone by bone. Let's enjoy a huge breath together. Inhale. Sigh it out, exhale. That is your upper body cool down for today, just enough to create space and to kind of release any residual tension that might be lingering after your strength practice. I hope it feels just right. I want to thank you so much for showing up to your practice today and for letting your body be moved.